Hi, good afternoon. My name is David. I use he, him pronouns, and today I am kicking off our game of Bite Marks. So, Bite Marks is a powered by the Apocalypse game of Werewolf Pack Dynamics by Becky Anderson of Black Armada Games. It's yeah, it's as sort of, that's just it's all about playing werewolves who are in a pack, and specifically the sort of relationships between those characters, how they interact with the world of werewolves and other mystical stuff, and so on. This game is being run on the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing group. We meet up for games like this. We arrange them through a gaming calendar, which you can find at our website, which is gauntlet-rpg.com. You can sign up for games there. It is free for people to publicly sign up to games there. There is kind of a first come first serve basis with early access to people who sign up to the Patreon, but free slots are always available on there, or usually available on there, I should say. So do check that out if you're interested. We also have a monthly gaming zine called Codex, which is also distributed as part of the Patreon. We also have a number of podcasts that you can find out information on all that stuff through the website. In specific, what we are doing today is we have all read a book called Wolfsong by TJ Klune. This is a sort of supernatural romance novel about werewolves. And the sort of idea is that we've sort of read this book together. We discussed that last week. The recording of that is also available if you want to check it out. We are therefore sort of going to be using what's in that book as a kind of guide to some of the stuff we explore in this game. We're going to see how that goes, and yeah, that's sort of what we're doing with that. And I suppose I will just on that very briefly on that front mention there's again, because this is being based on a novel we have all read, there may be some slight spoilers for the book in our general discussion now, as we build the world together. So yeah, that is our where we're at. I'm just going to quickly ask my players to all introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce the game properly. So for the moment, I'm just going to go in the order I can see people on my screen. So Sabine, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name's Sabine. I use any pronouns. I am from Germany and I have read the book. Was not a great fan of the book, but I am a great fan of the players that will be playing with me. So I feel that this should be a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, and Drew, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Drew. I use he, him pronouns. I am from Canada, and I enjoyed the book. I actually just finished the second book a couple days ago and enjoyed that, I think, a little more. And
I heard good things about it.
Yeah, I think it smooths some things out, but I am looking forward to exploring this and playing with all of you for the first time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Jamie.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I use they, them pronouns. I realize you're so international. I'm from the Philippines. So I also read the book for the first time in December, just about a month ago. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But I also signed up because anything that David puts up that's in my time zone, I will jump on it. So, and then Sabine also joins and Steven, so I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Stephen, if you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Steven, he, him. Excited to be a part of this werewolf pack with everyone.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly introduce the game first. So I will use what referred to as CATS, which is an acronym standing for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. Sometimes the S is different. I've seen people use it slightly differently, but that's the formulation of it that I tend to use. So the idea of this is just to kind of introduce a little bit about the game, so we all kind of understand what it is, where we're coming from. Do feel free to ask any questions while I go through this. Won't go into this in huge depth today because kind of some of this stuff on tone and subject matter and stuff we've already had a bit of discussion about last time, but I'll sort of go through it anyway. So as I say, it is the concept. It is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, so it's sort of based on Apocalypse World and the successor games. It's a fairly, what I would describe as a sort of standard PBTA game in that it's roll 2d6, add a number to it. 7 to 9 is a mixed success. 10 and up is a full success, etc., etc. It has playbooks. So yeah, it's that sort of fairly core Powered by the Apocalypse design. It has quite a heavy focus on interpersonal drama and character relationships. That is one of the key elements to it. There are also likely to be external threats and stuff you have to deal with, but all of it is very much based around this idea of the pack itself. And as well as about sort of being a werewolf, it's also very much about a game about sort of family as well. With found family or potentially actual family, depending on what your characters all are. So the aim of the game is sort of, as I mentioned, to explore like the messy relationships within the pack, how your bonds come together, what drama comes out of that, conflict, rivalry, affection, all that stuff. We'll also be looking to explore and detail the world. A big part of, and particularly of what we'll be doing today, is defining how your pack exists, what culture it has, what traditions shape it, and all this sort of thing, which will be useful to draw on as we get into proper play next time, but should also be quite a bit of fun just to go through in general. As obviously we do have we have kind of a source. We have a sort of kind of source point document, whatever you want to call it, but from the books, but we won't be kind of inherently bound by that. Some of the kind of very broad stroke things we'll probably carry through, but we'll discuss all that in a little moment. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. There are a series of player principles in this game, and I do like it in general actually when PBTA games do include principles for the players as well, because I think it's a good signpost for this sort of discussion. So I'm just going to quickly go through those now. The player principles are to act like a wolf, don't hold back, seize life by the throat, drink the marrow from its bones. Pack is family and family matters. Pack are your rivals, lovers, childhood friends, parents and siblings. Point your moves at the pack, bring them into scenes and make them a part of your story. Have strong feelings and opinions on your packmates' actions. Express those opinions loudly and often. Respect your alpha for as long as they deserve it. Play vulnerable. Expose your underbelly, share emotions, share feelings, care what the pack thinks of you. If you're playing the alpha, you have one additional principle. You are the alpha, act like it. Protect, lead, guide, and punish the pack. Give them orders, get respect, and uphold the traditions. Cool. So that's our aim. Tone. I'll talk a little bit about the kind of the game itself. And then obviously we'll kind of have some guidance on tone, as it were. So obviously it is a fantastical game. It is a game with werewolves in, but it's also ultimately one that is still grounded in reality. Part of this is, it's not like a full-on like slice of life type game, but it does, it's a lot of it is still based on the assumption that you still have you still have a normal life as well as your being in the pack. It's things that you do ties to the sort of mundane world as well as the pack. The obviously messy and dramatic, as I've already touched upon. There's the idea of like having heightened senses and emotions that you can kind of feel and see a lot more as a werewolf, so can sometimes lend the world a sort of slightly surreal or even melodramatic feel. This we'll touch on sort of in stuff that's specific like to Wolfsong. We have the tone of the game is supposed to be sort of wild and feral. Like violence is always a possibility there. By and large, as well, the moves and the playbooks in general are very much focused on being active, not passive. This isn't this is a game of going out and doing things rather than sort of sitting back and seeing what happens. And yeah, sort of all emotions for the werewolf are turned up to 11. So we should expect not just rage, but big displays of love, joy, sorrow, the whole sort of gamut of emotion. As I said, we had a lot of discussion last week about Wolfsong in particular, so I'm not going to go over that in huge detail now. But the specific things I'm thinking of in terms of the tone that we draw from Wolfsong are, as I sort of touched on last time, some of the I like a lot of the way that he uses the physicality of the wolves, things like the mental and sensory communication and expression that we see, the kind of odd nature of the pack bonds between people. Those are sort of things I think are quite cool in their tone, and like to see some of that maybe drawn back in. As well, the thing that I think is that I like, and again, you know, we'll see where we take it and what we do with it, but the fact that like it isn't all angst all the time. There is space for, you know, happiness and joy and fun, as well as the darker elements and all of this. So I think that sort of keeping things what's the word I'm looking for? Balanced, I guess, in tone there. Cool. And finally, we get onto the subject matter. So, as I say, violence is likely to be a feature of this game. We can have a little bit of in a sec. I'll probably have a bit more of a discussion on this exactly. As I say, I think we sort of mentioned last time in the novel, certainly, the violence tends to be often fairly sudden, but fairly and over fairly quickly, and that rather than being a constant thing. Just due to the nature of the rule set of bite marks, it is a bit more focused on, not necessarily purely on violence, but it doesn't have a whole lot of mechanical support for characters doing the mechanics focus a lot more on that sort of I suppose a more traditional is maybe not the right way of putting it, but on more of that, like the idea of action, I suppose, if not violence, is probably the way I'd put it. Obviously, as ever with any post-apocalypse games, just because there aren't moves doesn't mean you can't do things, right? That you know, if the game does have a slightly more laid back or whatever tone, that is fine as long as everyone's enjoying it. But the kind of the inherent mechanics of it do push the game towards action and potentially violence. So just be aware of that. We'll have a bit of a discussion on exactly where we want lines and veils on that violence in a second. Some of the things that this does include as well, again, just due to the nature of the fact you're werewolves, is that it's likely that hunting is going to come up as a feature of this at some point. We can't specifically avoid that if people want to, but kind of default assumptions is that there is some sort of predatory behavior and potentially, you know, violence against prey animals, etc. Also, the potential of or the fact, the likelihood of violence between at least you know, werewolves in their form as a wolf and humans. So those are things that are likely to come up. Sex between consenting adults is possible. You know, is stuff we might engage with in this. This game does have sex moves in the style of Apocalypse World, Monster Hearts, etc. So it's, you know, as ever, up to individual players to decide whether they wish to engage with that or subject matter or not. We won't have any kind of graphic sexual content in our play, but you know, that is likely to be a feature, at least to some extent. The other thing of specific note that I think is important to have a discussion about, or to have awareness of, is that we do particularly some of the one of the core moves in this game is called Dominating. It is about kind of using aggression and force of personality to impose your will on another person. So that is obviously something we want to be careful with, that we are using that in a way that isn't making the players uncomfortable. Very specifically, there are some things that the Dominate move cannot be used to do, that is explicitly in the rules, that you cannot use it to cause somebody to take their own life or to contravene sexual consent. But so those are off the table absolutely anyway. But still do be aware that is that sort of element is part of the core moves of the game. So we'll obviously be exercise care around that. There is also a couple of elements of this game can introduce a temporary loss of character agency. Kind of losing control of yourself, etc. If and when this does come up in play, I will be sort of checking in with people to make sure that we're happy with where that goes. But just again, so that you're aware, that is sort of a feature of some of the mechanical aspects of this game. Yeah, so I think that is all of the particular subject matter bits and pieces I wanted to like highlight in that part of that cat's discussion. There is obviously some other subject matter stuff from the novel itself, but that we don't need to kind of particularly deal with here, because that's more focused on the actual plot itself rather than necessary plot threads or whatever we'll pick up on. But that's and we can obviously as well discuss that when we're having our discussion on Lines and Veils. So I'll just very quickly go over the safety tools we'll be using as part of this game. We will be playing, firstly, we'll be playing with the open door policy in place. This is simply to say that if at any point you need to step away from the game, whether that be to take a quick break or a long break, or you actually need to like leave the game entirely, that is fine. Feel free to do so. If you can, let me know if you're going to be like 5 minutes because you've just got a phone call, or if you have to leave because something's come up. If you can, let me know if either roughly how long you'll be, or if you're leaving entirely. That is useful just so that I can manage the session. But it is also not necessary. If you need to leave, then you can just leave, and that's fine. No explanation is needed. We will be playing with the X card. The X card is a tool used if content comes up that you are not happy with and don't want to see in the game, and just want to see sort of removed from the scene that we're currently in, and then you can use the X card basically, and we'll take note of that and make sure that that's kind of removed. You can invoke the X card by sort of doing the X with your hands, by putting an X in chat at the side in our Zoom call, or just by saying I'd like to X that. I'll always give my sort of standard disclaimer. I'm just on the single screen in front of me here. I am frequently tabbing into other screens to look at stuff. If you do sort of present the X card entirely visually, there is a possibility that I will miss that. So in general, saying it out loud is the quickest way to get my attention. If any of you see that someone has raised the X and I don't seem to have taken note of it, feel free to sort of shout out on their behalf as well, just to get my attention. The X card can be used to sort of for any reason really, whether that be because you're uncomfortable with a particular piece of subject matter that's been introduced, you're uncomfortable with the usage of a particular name, or even just you feel like the inclusion of a certain element in this context is just not tonally right, and you're not. It just feels off to you. For any of those reasons, you can use the X card. If you do X anything, I might need to ask you what it is exactly that you're not happy with. If it's not immediately obvious from context, but I won't ask you to justify why you are. If just saying that you want something out is enough. Obviously, if you want to say, "Oh, I'm fine with this in general. I just don't want. Can we just not have this in this scene?" Whatever, obviously, absolutely feel free to say that, but you don't have to. You never have to justify why you're doing it if you do not wish to. Just saying that you want it out is enough, and we'll respect that. The other major safety tool that we will be using, the other two, I suppose, but the first one is the script change tool as well. This is basically a series of commands based on a video remote control. There is a link to sort of a little PDF document on this in the shared folder for the game. But basically, I think the three most important tools in this one, or the most useful tools in this one, are you can call out for a pause, and you can call out for a pause at any point. We'll just briefly stop what we're doing and check in. You might call a pause. This might actually just be something like, you're partway through a scene and there's a knock at the door and you have to go and answer it. And you just want to say, yeah, can we just hold on for a sec while I deal with that? You might just want to a scene might be particularly intense and you just want a quick 10 seconds just to gather yourself, think through what you want to do before coming back into it. Or if you want to kind of have a discussion about what's going on in a scene, think if you want to say, "Oh, I'd rather we don't go in this direction. Can we sort of avoid that?" Or "I'd like to do this thing. Is that okay?" Any of those sort of check-ins, we can just call out pause and just that's just a sign that we're going to just take a quick break in the actual play of the game itself, just to have that discussion. There is fast forward, which can be used to skip over something. This might be I don't really want a big in-depth description of how you're eating this deer that we've just hunted or whatever. Can we just move on from that? Or it might be as well, say a conversation has just been circling back and forwards and hasn't really been moving on to the point, or a particular scene hasn't been moving on to the point. You just think, can we just kind of move it to can we have the dramatic thing happen now rather than just sort of keep going backwards and forwards? Anything like that, we can just call a quick fast forward and just say, I'd like to, what it is that you want to fast forward to or past. Then the counterpoint to that is rewind. This can be used again. You can call a quick rewind to just step back from what's just happened and move back to a sort of point before. This might be again because the scene has started going in a direction you're not happy with, and you think, can we just take it back to this point and find a different way out rather than doing this thing? Can we do something else instead? Or it might be just that you think, actually, I didn't quite phrase what I was saying right. can I just go back and put it in a slightly different way? Because I think I realized that like that came across as more aggressive than my character was actually being, or whatever else. So that's rewind. And those I think those pause, fast forward, and rewind I think are the three most useful of those tools. There's a couple of others as well that are detailed in the document, scene by scene, sorry, frame by frame, instant replay, and resume. Resume is I always forget about it because I just tend to use natural language, but that's I suppose just to let us know that we've finished using one of the other tools and I'm going back into play. But do check out on the PDF if you want to read about a little more about those, and do feel free to use them. But the basically frame by frame is used for just kind of going through a scene a bit more slowly for whatever reason that might be, whether because we're going in some potentially tricky subject matter or just things might get confusing. We want to take it a bit more slowly. Instant replays used to just check in and get have a quick discussion about a scene that's just happened, whether that be to just clarify, oh, did you actually do that thing, because it kind of got lost in the crosstalk, or or just say, hey, that was really cool. Anything else like that. Finally, we will be, although perhaps most importantly, we'll be using lines and veils to sort out like what content we want to see in the game, what we don't, or what level of comfort we have with certain aspects. We'll I'm going to pause our recording now, so we can go through those lines and veils. But yes, I won't include that in the recording, so that we can have a an unobserved conversation about that. Yeah. So we've got our lines and veils down. We've had a bit of discussion on some of the content stuff there. The next thing I wanted to just check in with everyone before we pick characters is in terms of our like actual temporal and spatial setting. My kind of assumption coming into this was that we would just go for kind of modern day, probably somewhere in the US, probably avoiding the Pacific Northwest, because that's obviously like the area covered in the novel, but and go for somewhere else. In fact, in this game, I believe Stephen is our token resident of the US. So my knowledge is by no means encyclopedic. It's essentially what films I've seen. So wherever we go, it would be a fairly light touch. Anyway.
So Vancouver, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. But I did just want to check in, I know, particularly after some of our discussion last time, if people would are happy with that assumption and we pick somewhere, or if people would rather explore a different time and or place. So yeah, does anyone have any thoughts on that front?
I suddenly thought the 80s, which, just so we'd have 80s music and 80s fashion, but I'm fine with that. It just came to me.
I lived through the 80s and suffered the 80s fashion. I don't know. I mean, we can. Sure, I'm not that opposed, but
no need to make you suffer through it again.
I had a perm and all. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Terrible times. No, not really. Or maybe
I feel that way about the 90s fashion. I'm like, oh, I did that glitter stick stuff and shiny lip gloss. Just regrets. Dated a guy with frosted tips. Just terrible.
I just wonder if we want, if we're a modern day, we have modern technology, or I mean, I feel like we almost wouldn't be too hot on WhatsApp and TikTok making TikTok videos on, but it could be a thing. I mean, I don't know.
Now I have a character idea. Influencer werewolf. I'm not too picky. I think I'd prefer modern time-ish. not necessarily today, but ish.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, probably, regardless of like time period and stuff, it will, you know, we'll do these like semi-fictionalized version anyway. Because you know, I don't think anyone has any particular desire to. And I mean, that's not true. There's a certain what you call it, catharsis in dealing with you know, real world stuff, but at the same time, I'd like, yeah. So 2020 is probably not a year I'm interested in visiting in even in fictional form at the moment, certainly. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think I'm happy to stick with just kind of like vaguely like, yeah, modern day in the like technological sense. Yeah. If and yeah, so that's cool. And yeah, location up. Does anyone have any sort of thoughts on where we might like to be?
And maybe we could go with Maine or something like that, because that's on the other side of the continent, and I think it's coldish, and I'm pretty sure there are forests there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that works for me. I'm cool with that. Yeah, no, if everyone's happy, then yeah, we'll work on that assumption. As I said, we will. Sorry, I'll put that another way. We will detail a lot more about the specific area you live in a moment, in a little bit. So that we will flesh out quite well, I think. But at the same time, in terms of like specifics of geography, etc., we don't have to be too you know, precise. It's as long as it goes, mostly just to give us an idea, like aesthetically, of like what we're like. That's cool. Perfect. So with that said, we will take a look at the character playbooks. What I'll probably do is I will ask people to. Yeah, I think this will have to be via the medium of the PDF itself. I just double check that these ones do have a. Yeah, they do. Cool. So what I'm going to do is just in order that they come in the PDF itself. I will just ask each of you to read out the name of and then the quick paragraph description of each of these in turn. So I will start with Sabine, if you would like to read the alpha for me, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, the alpha. The pack is nothing without the alpha, and the alpha is nothing without the pack. You're the center, their heart, and they give you status and purpose. How do you dominate your pack? Do you rule with fear, viciously punishing the disobedient? Are you respected and loved by all? Maybe it's just complicated. Are the pack waiting to depose you or run into danger and die for you? There are many ways to be an alpha, and the pack always reflects your inner self.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Jamie, if you would like to read The Cub.
Yes, sorry, I was reacting to something in chat.
No worries.
Yeah. So for the cub, you are the newest member of the pack, a freshly bitten werewolf with only a few changes to your name. You are learning the rules and making relationships with your new packmates, but you are fucking up a lot. They love you anyway. You're the younger sibling, indulged and frustrating. Are you desperate to prove yourself or enjoying being the baby of the family, or both?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jamie. Oh, the one thing also I will just quickly call out on the Cub playbook is the Cub doesn't necessarily, they don't have to be, and the assumption probably is that they are not an actual child, but they are the youngest and least experienced of the werewolves in the pack. Whether they be, we'll get into a bit on that in a moment, whether they've just been turned into a werewolf or whether they've kind of only recently or if they come of age. Exactly, they might be younger. If you wish to play them as an actual younger character, That is also okay if everyone's happy with it, though obviously be aware at that point you will kind of essentially will lose access to your sex move. That is something we'll not be going into, obviously. So, but yeah, that's, like I said, the cub does not have to actually be a child. They are just a younger and less experienced member of the pack. Cool, thank you very much. Next up, so I think Drew, if you would like to read the Enforcer.
The Enforcer. Every pack has someone willing to cross a line to protect their family, to do what is necessary to ensure their survival. Someone the Alpha can use as the ultimate threat. That is you. Your loyalty to Pack and Alpha is strong and unshakable, but do you embrace your role or carry it as a burden for those you love? Do you have any limits when pushed to the brink? And what do your nearest and dearest think when you go beyond the line?
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Stephen, the Fixer.
Yeah, well, someone has to deal with the mortal world. Luckily, you just love it. The pack is your home and your family, but mortals hold a fascination for you, and you know their world just as well as your own. You love the way they smell, feel, and taste, and they love you back, which is handy when the pack needs money, information, or something disappearing. But you exist between two worlds, more so than anyone else, and it pulls you apart.
Awesome, thank you very much. So Sabine, I'll come back around to you for the Grey Pelt.
Oh, the oldest and wisest among us, the grey pelt remembers the earliest days of the pack, the battles and rivalries of the long past, the wolves who died before we came to this life of teeth and rending. The grey pelt is an esteemed elder, a former alpha, mother and father to us all.
Brilliant, thank you. And as a counterpoint to the cub, it is assumed that the grey pelt will be older and more experienced than the other characters, but they don't actually have to be a sort of elderly person, but they're just someone who has been around the block a bit more. Though again, they may well be. Cool, thank you. And Jam, if you would like to read the Howl.
Yeah, so the Alpha may lead the pack in this life, but you shepherd them in spirit. The pack respect you, they need your guidance just as much as the Alphas, but in a different way. You can be the Alpha's best friend and ally, or you can be biding your time to rid the pack of an Alpha who threatens you all to damnation. Or worse, you can be both.
Excellent, thank you very much. And yeah, finally, Drew, if you would like to read The Prodigal.
You used to be in the pack and you left. Circumstance has recently pulled you back. You're here and you're committed for now. But it is hard finding your place again. Some have welcomed you back with an embrace, some resent you, and one in particular you are probably avoiding.
Brilliant, thank you very much. There are always more playbooks in this than I remember there being, which is a good thing in general. But yes, I always think of it being just like one or two fewer. But yes, so those are our playbooks. So in a second, I will start asking which ones individually you're interested in. The one thing I will say about the Alpha playbook, we've kind of touched on this already, I think last week when we were discussing it. The Alpha playbook is, I mean, as a playbook, it functions the same as anyone else. If someone wants to start off play as the Alpha, that's cool, and you should feel free to do so. It is possible in the course of play for that playbook to change hands. Essentially, there is a move where you kind of challenge the current, where someone else can challenge the current holder of the Alpha playbook, and on a 10 plus on that move, they actually take that playbook from the current Alpha. They become the new Alpha. The Alpha picks up a new playbook, so it can shift around that one. You do not need to have nobody needs to play the Alpha. If you all decide that none of you wants to be the Alpha, that's okay, that's fine. that's fine in terms of that's a perfectly fine decision to make. For you as players, it probably won't be fine because, you know, if there is an NPC alpha, they will either be incompetent, a terrible person, or probably not going to live much longer, because, you know, that's the way to get drama happening. But like I said, if no one should feel like they have to pick up the no one should feel like they have to play the alpha at the outset. If you don't want to, you know, no one should feel like they need to take on that role. But just, you know, it is possible that someone might have the playbook thrust upon them during play. So yeah, that's that is that. So yeah, with that said, I'm now going to just quickly go around and see what playbooks people are kind of eyeing up, and then I'll then give you all some time to go through and build characters and stuff. I'm actually going to pause our recording now because this next bit probably isn't going to be that super interesting to come back to. Awesome, yeah. So I think we've got our characters pretty much down now. So, or at least you know, enough to get started with. We'll learn more about them as we go through. So actually, one of the things I kind of will mention like at the outset now is obviously we'll sort of probably detail this in a bit more detail in a moment, but we obviously with the way stuff is set up in Wolfsong, the idea is that it uses a sort of the kind of two primary like forms of being a werewolf. So there is an inherited element to it. The children of werewolves in turn become werewolves. It's a little more ambiguous, I think, when it comes to like children of humans and werewolves. Like, I don't know if there's any specific examples of that, but yeah, it's in general assume that being a werewolf is hereditary. It is also possible for an alpha to turn someone into a werewolf through the method of the bite. In the book, this is done on most notably, it's obviously Ox is saved from death by this because kind of taking the werewolf bite gives you sort of the werewolfy power, etc., and allows you to survive wounds that you might otherwise not. So one thing to sort of consider with your character is if you were born a werewolf, or if you were transformed into one. We'll also kind of touch on as well, not as slightly less important right now, in particular, and with the bonds between yourselves as well. We also, once we've sort of set that out, obviously, particularly for those people who were born werewolves, we'll look at any other family that you might have in the pack, but we'll cover that all off in the NPCs thing. If you are interested in being related to any of the other characters, and feel free to chat amongst yourselves, sort that out. That's cool. But so I thought just put that stuff out there at the outset. There's no right or wrong to whether you decide to be born a wolf or have been converted. Both are fine. You know, there might, in terms of like how you role play it, I think it's an interesting thing to play with, but there's no real considerations beyond that. So yeah, anyway, with that said, I'm going to go through now in character keeper order. So Stephen, would you like to introduce the character you've come up with?
Yeah, hey there. I'm playing Cody, he, him, the cub. Cody, so I should note, Cody, prior to becoming a werewolf, lost his left leg in a mountain biking accident. post becoming a werewolf, his right ear is also kind of fucked up because he picked a fight with a bobcat. Cody is the first one to jump into things, and usually the first person to get hurt. He's come out of it relatively okay so far. But yeah, I picked for my moves scrapping and overprotected. And for my heartbeats, I am frustrated, playful, and energetic. Because people are always coming in to try to protect me for some reason. I'm fine. I was perfectly fine. I was winning against that bobcat people.
Awesome. That's cool. I'll just double check in now. I kind of assumed from what you just said, but that you were bitten.
Yes, I was bitten.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I assumed so. I mean, it could potentially have been that you suffered the injury like as a kid before the change came upon you, but I assumed that bitten. Yeah, no, that's cool.
I mean, and if we want to get into it, I think that at the time the alpha and I were dating. We're not dating anymore, but I'm still part of the pack.
Cool. Yeah, we can. Yep, that's awesome. We'll learn a bit more about the alpha soon. I am sure, but that's cool to start with. I'm just scribbling down some very ambiguous notes to myself. Brilliant. So thank you for that, Sabine. If you would like to introduce who you will be.
I am going to play Ivar, the enforcer, and yeah, he's sure that Cody is going to be fine, just fine, with his ear torn off and other parts torn off. He couldn't get it
torn off. It's just fucked up, Ivar. I can still hear out of it.
It's not torn off.
It just looks a little weird.
Yeah. Fine. Well, eventually you get into too much trouble and then you'll be really fine. Anyway, Ivar is the enforcer. He is not a young man, maybe end of 40s, beginning of 50s, somewhere in that line. He's been the enforcer for a while now. He's he's seen a lot of stuff, as you might imagine. He had a fight with some other werewolf pack that left his left arm a bit banged up, I guess you could say. I mean, he can still use it, but it's not all there, right?
Judging me for my ear, Ivar.
Yeah, I am. I know where it's coming from, kid. I know where you're coming from. I've been there. So yeah, I mean, and I think Ivar, just like Cody, has been bitten when he was quite young. Actually, got into some trouble. Not like he got in the fight with a bobcat or anything. It was probably something a bit darker. Probably got fucked up by some omegas. Do we still have these? We still have these.
Yeah. We can. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, no, definitely we can certainly some vicious werewolves.
Okay, something vicious. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Was weird something anyway.
Or some. Yeah, exactly.
Got him, and then the alpha decided, okay, this kid still was fighting, even though he wasn't winning, but he was still fighting. So let's see where this could go. So he's been a werewolf for 30 years now. So he feels like he knows what this being a werewolf is kind of about.
Perfect.
And I should say that he has the moves borrow trouble, where I can redirect trouble from someone or something to yourself. I'm sure Cody will love that. and Heart of Stone, where he inflicts more harm. His heartbeats are dangerous, loyal, and deserving.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next, Drew, if you would like to introduce who you'll be playing.
I will be playing Jackson, the fixer. Sorry, his name is definitely not spelled with a CKS. It's an X. Anyone who says otherwise has heard wrong information. He also goes by Jax. He is very popular in certain circles, especially on Instagram, for his physique, let's say, photos. He fancies himself a bit of a photographer, and his in with the human world and with certain circles in the human world gives him a valuable position in the pack as a fixer. He has contacts, he has lots of friends, and in fact, he is very close to maybe a few too many humans, and feels a little divided on where his loyalties lie sometimes. He has the heartbeats charming, connected, and torn, and the moves make it go away and sniff it out.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So is Jackson related to a vampire family, do you think, or is he?
I think he's a born werewolf. So
yeah,
if he's related to someone here, maybe that could be interesting.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We can look at, particularly when we start building out our NPCs and stuff, looking at our alpha in particular and other things, we can work out kind of family dynamics from there. But no, that's cool. Thank you very much. Last but not least, Jamie.
Yeah. So, Ghost uses he/they pronouns. Ghost is the howl of the pack, and Ghost's heartbeats are loving, sacrificing, and secretive. And so, I realized I'm making a male version of a Leandra character. But basically, he's very sad. He has failed the pack in the past, and he is atoning for I feel like the ghost of Leandro is haunting me. Anyway, but and aside from that, he has tattoos. He's a born werewolf. His mother had hoped that he would develop the ability to eat dreams, and to speak to the dead, and so he was. Let me just double check our lines and veils. Yeah, are we okay with the idea that his mom kind of like did whatever she could to try to force the magic to surface, or do we want to change that?
I'm fine with it.
I'm okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay with me. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I was also, I just started reading Ravensong, and I was really inspired by that bit. So his mother feels like it was all worth it because Ghost is an excellent. They're able to see things, but I kind of like, in my mind, like he used to have the ability to prophesize, but he's like locked that ability away. So maybe there'll be like a tragic emotional reason if he regains that move for some reason. So we'll see. For now, Ghost has the ability to speak with the pack, because I really wanted to lean into that kind of telepathic nature from the books. So meaning I can communicate any distance in either human or wolf form with the pack to convey one short message or visual impression. Also speak with the dead. When I consume, I can't change the text from here, and I don't know how to do it, but basically consume the dreams of the recently dead. Because I also wanted to play into the book part where I always cried every time. Every time Ox would like when a ghost would suddenly show up to talk to him. I really like those moments. I kind of wanted to lean into that. And you didn't know if like Ox was imagining it or if it was real. And I kind of feel like it's the same with Ghost. When he first connects to a ghost, it's real, but when they linger, you don't know if it's really them or if it's Ghost's guilt and stuff, But yeah, so that's Ghost.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think actually we'll take another sort of about 5 minutes or so break there. We'll come back. As I said, you've got your pack questions down at the bottom, so we'll go through those. We'll do our bit of world building, and then that should be us done. So yeah, thank you very much. I'll see you all in, let's call it again, 5 pounds. So yeah, we, as I say, we've got these pack questions down at the bottom of the character keeper. So I'm going to go through. I'll go back around in character keeper order again. So yeah, Cody, which packmate do you hero worship, and what could they do to break that trust?
Well, Ivar is a little bit too high and mighty about, oh, look at me, I have these cool arm scars that are way better than yours, and I a little bit too much for me for that. And honestly, I have never actually heard of Jackson before joining the pack. So I think it's Ghost. He seems cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so what could what could Ghost do to break that trust you have in them?
I mean, I think stop me from going into danger.
Yeah, that is fair. Perfect. So yeah, Ghost, you can take a +1 tie. You can take a tie on Cody. So the way ties work, they are a bit like strings in Monster Hearts, though not quite as flexible. Basically, you can at any time spend a tie to gain a +1 on a move that specifically targets that person you have a tie with. You will only ever gain ties on other player characters. They don't interact with NPCs at all. If you max out the number of ties that you have on somebody, they reset back down to 0, but you gain an XP basically. So that's how they work. But yeah, cool. So next, Ivar, what is the most shameful thing you ever did to protect the pack, and which packmate knows about it?
The most shameful thing, I think I had either a sister or a wife who was involved with the pack, but who was a human. And I'm thinking maybe a wife, and then she got sick and our alpha turned her, but it didn't stick. It went wrong and she went omega, and I had to take her out, and I did it. And somebody knows about that. Somebody thinks this was a bit over the line. That shouldn't have been me, maybe, or maybe it shouldn't have happened at all, because maybe she could have been saved. But yeah, well, I don't know who knows about this. I think it's either Jax or Ghost. Anybody wants to jump on that?
Yeah, how do you feel about it? Because I feel like it would be so tragic if I met her ghost. But,
oh yeah.
But Jax, what are you? It would also be cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Just pile on the ghosts and the sadness.
Yeah, pile on the pile on the sad ghosts.
Yes, I'll be a Leandro magnet. I can do it.
Yeah, fine. It's cool.
Cool, yeah. And so Ghost, you'll also gain a tie on Ivar.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Jackson, why do you feel you want to leave the pack? So I'll rephrase that in a slightly more human way. Why do you feel that you want to leave the pack? And which packmate could get you to stay, and why?
Jackson feels like he would want to leave the pack because I think he is in love with a human who is not involved in this world at all, and he hopes to keep it that way.
Cool.
I think Ivar could get him to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I have sort of empathy for that. You shouldn't, at least you shouldn't feel forced to turn her into a werewolf. That would be a very bad idea, at least with our current structure.
Yeah, and I think Jackson looks up to Ivar. He's maybe like a father-ish figure or something.
Yeah, I mean,
like
he's a bit skeptical about your whole Insta-gay stuff, but he's probably not very, very vocal about the whole thing.
Right.
Okay,
yeah, cool.
Perfect. That sounds good. And so Ivar, you will get a tie on Jax. And last but not least, Ghost. You predicted someone would die, and they did. Who were they? How did they die? And which packmate cannot forgive you for not saving them?
I think it was, I kind of like the idea that it was our idea of what the tether is. Like, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the books, but the former tether of the alpha. And I knew, and I think this plays into why I don't have that move anymore. Being able to see the prophecy. I think what happened is I knew it would have to be them or the alpha, and I chose the alpha, because the pack had to survive, and I knew I didn't feel like the pack could survive without the alpha. I'm just setting up more tragedy, right? Because for what's going to happen to this NPC alpha. But in terms of who can't forgive me for not saving them, I like the idea that it's someone close to the alpha, and the tether or either. I kind of feel like I want Cody to continue to worship me, so I don't want it to be Cody. So I probably I'll take care of you, Cody. You're my chance to redeem myself.
What if it was Jackson's sister or brother or something?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that. I'm cool with either brother, sister, or sibling. So, but yeah, cool. So go ahead and take a tie on me.
Awesome. So I think the first thing.
I have a question for how do we mark these ties? Because I don't understand how do I mark my tie to
that's
Jackson,
right.
on Jackson or on me, on my thingy?
On your
okay.
on your column. So just mark next to their name on your
okay. Cool.
Yeah. That's cool. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. What I want to do first is we'll just frame up a couple of NPCs basically that will in and around the pack that will be. Then we'll move on from that onto developing a bit more about your culture and customs and the like, and that should be sort of where we get to today. So obviously the first the most important NPC to get kicked off with is obviously going to be alpha. So just based on what we have had set up so far, and feel free to contradict with this as we go through. The big sort of links so far that we have to our alpha, well, aside from the fact that they are the alpha, is the we've got obviously Cody was dating them but is no longer. We have obviously the whole the tether relationship, so the fact that their tether was Jackson's sibling. We also had that sorry, still learning names, that Ivar was turned by the alpha. But what I'm wondering, just with the difference in age there, is if maybe Ivar was turned by the current alpha's predecessor.
I like that. That was the father. And I wonder, when my wife died, that it was turned by the alpha. That was the current one, right? So just so I can blame, I will not blame him or her, them. I will not blame them. Of course I won't. Really I won't. No, this doesn't always go right. It's not his fault, their fault that it went wrong. Totally not.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So we have so I guess I'm actually going to ask I'm just meaninglessly scribbling at the minute. I'm just going to ask, so Jackson, you are a born werewolf. One of your siblings was the current alpha's tether. Are you also related to the alpha? I mean, are you the alpha's sibling maybe, or do you think there was some other relationship between your sibling and the alpha, whether that be friendship, romantic, or blood?
I was kind of thinking that my sibling had a romantic tie to the alpha.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like a nephew-ish?
Yeah.
Brother-in-law?
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. So I'm just kind of not. So yeah, we've essentially in this pack we have at least representatives of two, if not more, families, sort of thing. In that case, that's cool. That's good. We've got that about. So yeah, I guess now, what do we want this alpha to be like? Who are they? Name, appearance, and temperament. What would people like to see in this alpha? Sorry, I should direct this at someone. Sabine, go ahead.
I think I'd like for a temperament mercurial, maybe. Like lots of maybe bit mood swingy, and kind of, if you catch them in the right mood, then they're fine. But if it's the wrong mood, then they're just being a beast. That's okay with everyone?
Yeah, cool. I'll ask Stephen, do you have an idea for a name or appearance or anything else that you want for this this alpha, or a style? You know, anything?
Let's see, what are the names? Just yeah, let's go with Marcus, since that is not a name we don't have any M names out. I just wanted to avoid the trap of giving everyone the same initial.
Yep, that is absolutely fair. So, yeah, Marcus, the alpha. Cool. Yeah. So, Drew, what does like what's Marcus's like what's what I'm looking for? What does he, how does he sort of present himself? Is he kind of like a you know, the sort of mysterious aristocratic figure in the big house, or what do you think that sort of that position that he holds, how does that come across, if that question makes any sense at all?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like that. I think he was perhaps more maybe less mercurial, more a warmer person before his tether died, and since then he's become kind of reclusive in the wider community.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you. Oh, have we lost Stephen?
No, I'm here. My video's just went out.
Right, no worries. Sorry, I just saw like little thing on it. No, that's cool. No worries, not a problem. Jam, it was I can't think of anything specific. Was there anything else you wanted to kind of add about the alpha?
I would always see his predecessor, like the ghost of his predecessor, always hanging around him, but it's something that I could never tell anyone.
Nice.
I'm thinking like full on Japanese, you know, movie ghost, like the kind that's just suddenly there and suddenly disappears. Like,
cool. Yeah. So, awesome. And I guess I'll ask the same question of you. Are you related by blood to the alpha, or are you again a separate family, do you think?
yeah, I kind of like the idea that we're related by blood, and I think that's why Jax thought, like, you know, like you chose your family over my family.
Yeah, sure thing. Like closely related, like brothers, or like more of a sort of cousin type level.
Oh yeah, let's just lay on the pain. It's brother, so that it's a ghost of, you know, our dad or mom who's like hanging over.
Sure,
you know, just to make it extra painful.
Perfect.
So just they're both dead, right? The mom and the dad. The mom who was egging you on to become this powerful shaman, and the dad who was this alpha who was just I mean, I hero worshipped him. I'm pretty sure I still do somewhere in my heart, or what passes for my heart. These days.
Oh my gosh, that's true. They're both gone. Yeah. But they both won't speak to me. I can't reach to their ghosts. Right. So
Yeah, no, that sounds good. That sounds good. We can revisit some more details about antecedents in the in play proper. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's nice. I can come up with some stuff around them. So awesome. Yeah, we have a couple of those sort of family groupings that we're sort of seeing now. That's cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've just seen that question in chat. So, yeah. How old is roughly is Ghost, and do you think Marcus is? I'm again. My gut instinct is that Marcus is probably the elder sibling, but they may not be.
Yeah, I do agree. Like that's why my place was supposed to be his howl. Basically, I had to manifest the magic to support him.
Awesome. Cool. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. So we have the alpha anyway. Now we know who is in charge at the moment. There are a couple of. I actually wanted to ask, and so I'm going to be asking Jackson here for a couple of because you mentioned a couple of people in your thing. So we obviously have the your deceased sibling. Do you have a name for them that you would
Celia.
Celia, cool. And I think I'm going to actually. I'll ask this of Cody. We obviously mentioned that obviously Celia did have a romantic relationship with Marcus. You also dated Marcus. Was that is that something that's happened since Celia's death, or was this something that was going on either prior
Yeah,
or?
we'll say since.
Yep, cool. Perfect. Yeah, that's cool. And that's the other NPC I wanted to ask about for specifically from you, Jackson, was you mentioned that you have a human lover, or a human who you are in love with, I suppose, regardless of what your actual relationship status with them is currently. Who are they?
I think it is a boyfriend, maybe the boyfriend, might be a little ambiguous, but I'm going to go with Paul.
Cool. And is it someone who like lives in town, or is this something that's a bit more of a distance thing?
I think he's in town.
Yeah, cool.
I wonder, I've just been thinking if I ever had a kid, and I wonder if it might be too much tie-in if that was Paul, who is human. What do you think, Drew?
I'm okay with that.
Cool. Fine. So Paul's my kid. Nice. I love it.
I'm feeling strong Hearts of Woolen energy, which is good.
Would that still work with Paul not knowing about this side of the world?
Oh yes, definitely. I would try to keep that from him at all costs, especially after what happened to his mother. He just thinks she died of the illness that led to the whole, she was turned into a wolf, and we'll leave it there. She doesn't know that I took her out for being evil. Well, yeah, maybe we would send him away. Maybe he was in a boarding school or something. That these exist in the US, right? Boarding schools.
Well, yeah, they're not super common, but they exist.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Cool. So that's good. We've got that, a couple of those people sort of fleshed out, obviously. So I think I'm going to ask. I'll ask Jamie first. Who is another member of your pack?
Yeah, I kind of, let's see. I kind of like the idea that I'm trying to figure out if it should be like more family or yeah, I think it's the equivalent of the gray pelt, but it's someone that we jokingly call the librarian because they keep track of everything that's happened. It's an old tradition that most of the packs don't even bother with anymore, but they hold on to that one.
Cool. Yeah, I'll ask Ivar. How do you get on with the librarian? Or do you get on with them? What's your kind of feelings towards them?
I think for him, I'm still the new guy, right? Because that was something I was when I was made, and that's how he still, for some reason, he kind of still thinks I'm not really part of the pack, and that might extend to Cody as well, because we're not born.
I do like the idea that he specifically calls you new guy, even though Cody is now a part of the pack.
Yeah, it's fine, but yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I've been part of the pack for 30 years and still calls me, hey, new guy.
And that, like, you're like, he does not call Cody new guy. He just calls you new guy.
Yeah, he probably just doesn't I think he is, if he thinks about it, he probably wouldn't think that Cody is more part of the pack than Ivar is, but still, maybe it was the part of a thing that when Ivar was made, he was intensely jealous for some reason, because he thought that just making this kid because he seemed to be kind of brave is kind of bullshit reason or something. I don't know. It's hard to say. He never really accepted me as part of the pack. And I kind of try to be polite, like you are when you're the new guy. You're polite to the old fogey. And that's been the same for 30 years. And maybe at one point I will have had enough of this bullshit, but yeah, whatever.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And yeah, Cody, who is one other member of the pack that for us to meet?
Yeah, I was gonna throw that out. I think sorry, I was just kind of thinking this through. I think Camille. Yeah, I was also going to suggest that about the librarian, maybe.
Yeah, so you don't feel forced for your character.
Who I think is actually like she was away from the pack for a while, and before she left, I think if it's okay, she was actually Marcus's and Ghost's elder sister, and she left
Nice.
the pack when all this, and she was like she had like a big blowout with the old alpha and left the pack, and then came back after they died, but hasn't become
Oh,
but never but didn't chose not to become alpha.
perfect, perfect, amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Perfect. So what we'll do now, we've got a couple of pack things. I'll probably both come up with a couple of ideas myself and ask as well in just in Slack about like the town you're in and what it's like. But we can cover that later. We don't need to go super in depth in that. But what I do want to do now, while we're all here, is on the pack tab. There's a couple of different bits and pieces that we have in that we'll do in here. The main things that we'll be looking at is we'll be detailing some aspects of culture and traditions. So the culture side of it, these tend to be like positive things that you do as a positive in the sense of stuff that you actively do with as part of the pack. This includes come up with some words of slang as well that we share as a pack. So I've put in a few. You'll see I've left a bit of space for writing in some slang, which we'll come around to in a moment. There's also some like examples of what sort of things culture you might be things you have as part of your pack's culture. So for instance, to run and hunt together as wolves, to wait for the alpha to eat first, physical closeness, looking at the floor when admonished by the alpha, dress code, taboos, food rituals. These are the sort of things we're talking about. So in a moment, I will go around and I'll start asking you questions on those. So I'll give you a moment or two to think on that, on things that you might embed within your thing. So again, in terms of the Bennett pack, in Green Creek, we might say there, for instance, running, running and hunting on the full moon. Sunday lunch, that's one other thing. Oh yeah, and again, maybe just the fact of the sort of that sort of idea of like the physical contact and stuff that they exhibit. Like it's essentially things that the pack tends to do a lot. This also works in the same way as your heartbeat. So if you can bring in one of the pack traditions into one of the pieces of pack culture into your portrayal of something in a scene, that counts as earning your point of XP in that scene. So that's the sort of the idea. Likewise with the slang, if you use slang words, then that counts as well. On the other side of it, we have the traditions. Traditions are harder things than the culture. These are the culture can include taboos as well, but the traditions are things that are specifically like laws that should not be broken. It should, however, be noted that they are laws that can be broken. So this isn't for things that are actual impossibilities. So for instance, if we say that if we take the Wolfsong thing, certainly implied at any rate that only alphas can turn people into werewolves, then we wouldn't make only alphas can turn people into werewolves a tradition, because that's not something that's people can do. So it's not a that's not what the traditions are for. The traditions are for things that can be broken, and in fact probably will be broken as well. So it's also not a good place to put things that you want in there as a sort of like safety line. These are the point of the traditions is to be those kind of like things that probably at some point somebody will break one and it will cause drama. So that's what those are for. It also, we when we introduce these traditions, one of you will have to have volunteered to have broken one of these traditions in the past. So that's sort of what those are for. But we'll start off, I think, with our culture. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of go around. I'll probably just go around in character keeper order for the moment. I'll start actually in reverse character keeper order this time, because just to shake things up a little bit. And I'll ask you either to introduce like a thing that you do, or a piece of slang. And again, if you want to lift any slang from the books, that is also perfectly fine. But yeah, so Jamie, I'm going to and obviously again, feel free to like ask each other stuff backwards and forwards, but I'll just lead it this way because it's a lot, it's just cleaner to start off there. So yeah, Jamie, what piece of slang or sort of pack habit would you like to bring in?
Yeah, slang is always like super difficult.
In fact, what I'm going to do, I'll just, those ones are already in there, I'm going to just paste down at the bottom so you can still reference them, but I'll take them out so that they're not, so that we have just blank paper to start from.
Yeah, I kind of like, I do like the physical closeness. I did like that from the book. How there always had to be like a hand on the shoulder, but how do people feel about that though?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
with
Yep.
that. It seems very wolfy.
Yeah, woof woof woof. So I really like that one.
I mean, I have
Wolf
scrapping, so
pile.
it will happen.
True. I've been laying out a lot of tragedy. I want to put in some wholesomeness.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, thank you. So Drew, would you like to add again either a kind of a cultural artifact or a piece of slang into this?
I like the idea of they always gather together for the full moon and run and hunt, and it has that kind of secret identity feel to it for him especially. He has to go away for a night or a couple days every month, and everyone's like, "Oh, where'd he go?"
Yeah, cool. That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Hey fans, taking a break from social media for the next day or two.
Exactly.
Hashtag self-care.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you. Sabine, how about you?
I think maybe I would like to introduce a shared slang word, and for these days when we are hunting in the woods, I like to have a special word for it. Like moon day sounds a bit like we're all I don't know, but hunt days is a bit weird as well. So I don't know, maybe we just call them wild days or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We're having our wild days now.
Perfect. Yeah. Cool. Stephen, do you want to introduce again either a piece of slang or just a piece of your pack culture?
Yeah. I think I mean I do I'm just kind of thinking here about pack culture stuff.
And there's oh, sorry, Karen.
What was that?
No, I was just going to say as well, and obviously, I was going to say, as you introduce stuff, also obviously feel free to kind of detail what, you know, if there's stuff you want to kind of imply that the pack does or doesn't do or whatever is part of the introducing these elements, that's also awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say just to really play into, I think that there's a taboo about picking fights with other predators. Like, it's not a hard rule. It's just that it's a thing that we're supposed to, that like is part of the tradition of the pack. Like, not tradition, but part of like the culture of the pack.
Yep, sure thing. That's cool.
If that works.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. That sounds good. I
So
think
our taboo says that we can't kill them, right? And maybe we can chase them away though, because you can't have a bear.
Well, it's about like initiating the fight with other predators.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You know, like someone might have done once, but you know.
Yeah.
I would have taken them, Ivar. Okay.
That's not what I'm talking about, but we have bears sometimes come into our territories and they can't be here if we go on a hunt for the food.
Bears.
So I'm not initiating fights with them precisely. Not exactly precisely, but you know.
Cool. I'm going to introduce. Oops, I'm going to overtype on the wrong tab because I. Yep. So I'm going to introduce a piece of slang, a fairly simple one, but I think there's like a big yeah, I think there is like a kind of big patch of like forest that's like part of the, you know, from the town that you're in, and I think that's just quite simply referred to as home. So sort of you talk about like going home or whatever, it's kind of going out to this, going out to the forest sort of thing. Awesome. So Jamie, if you want to either add in a new piece of slang or another sort of like cultural thing, probably have a better word for that. Actually, I'm thinking, just looking at the time, we might leave that for the moment, but we can, if people want to add a little bit, add anything over the week, we can do that. And I might just quickly check in again at the beginning of next session if we want to flesh things out a little bit more there. But I'm also happy if people just want to kind of chat about it in Slack and add bits and pieces, because I think it's probably good that we do set up our traditions now as well, because those kind of impact on other NPCs and on player characters. So it's probably better while we're all together for it. I am going to, like I said, we want to set up 3 oral laws here, which will govern what you all are supposed to do and how you're supposed to behave.
I have a thought, just because it was something I wanted to go against the original, the novel we're kind of using as inspiration. But I had the idea: obey the land, it doesn't want us here.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. That is a good one. I think I would like that to be one of the traditions. We can kind of determine exactly what that means on a case by case basis, but I do like obey the land.
Yeah, that's a nice subversion instead of just like lording over it automatically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have an idea for a law, but if I'm out of turn, you need to stop me now.
No, go for it. Go for it. Like I
Okay.
say, if people have ideas, then
Because I think this would make everything more dramatic, that we have a law that we don't tell humans about us unless we have the permission of the alpha,
yeah.
which is totally something we can have broken in the past.
Oh, is this what happened? Is this because you told your wife without the alpha's permission?
Of course I did. I mean, of course I did. And that's
then
why
that's what it all led to. This is the lesson to take away.
yeah, this is the lesson to, yes, because it did not end well, and it will not end well if anybody tells our son about it. And my wife needs a
It
name,
will
I think.
inevitably lead to you having to murder them.
No, that's cool.
Oh,
Yeah, that's cool, and that does sort of fit as well. That compared to the one we just had, that does sort of fit into the more, it plays into stuff in Wolfsong, where there is this, it's not quite full on Vampire the Masquerade, but there is definitely the impression given that in general revealing the truth of werewolf society to humans is not something that is done, and obviously the Bennett pack is an aberration in that front.
well, I think that they have the permission of the alpha, right? When they reveal themselves.
Yes, they do, but there's again, I think this might be something that's referenced a bit more in some of the later books when there's a bit more of the stuff in. But there is one of the reasons why the Bennets become unpopular with the other sort of current ruling, or the other alpha, the acting alpha of all, is the fact that they have involved humans in their thing, and that's kind of beyond the pale. So yeah. But no, that's cool. I think that is awesome. Does anyone have an idea for a third law they want to introduce?
Question, actually,
No,
just a
go for
quick
it.
one. Because why does the land not want us there?
I thought we could like either talk about that a little bit once we have more time
Okay.
in Slack,
Yeah,
or
okay, fair.
find out in play.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, cool.
I kind of like this weird, like, I'm still trying to formulate it in my head, but I think the idea is like, if someone has a prophetic dream, they're not allowed to tell anyone except the Howl or the Alpha. Something along those lines. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Or could maybe share it to sort of dreams in general. But yeah, I think something like that could work.
Ooh, or maybe like, don't trust anyone you meet in dreams, like what they have to say to you.
Yeah, I like that. Cool. And I'll just check in as well, because I mean, it says we were aiming for 3, but Drew, is there a law that you would like to add as well, or are you happy with what we've got?
I think did we decide whether only the alpha can turn people, or if it's just not done?
That's such a good law.
I think I'm open to say what people want. If it's if we want to make it, if we want to say that anyone can turn other wolves, or possibly born wolves can do it, but
Like, mechanically, is it only the Alpha? Is that right?
So certainly in the books, again, as far as I'm aware, it's never something they go into huge detail on, but it is heavily implied that it is literally it is only an alpha who can make other wolves, and it's just no other wolf can do so. And in fact, even I think there's even a bit where one of the later ones where even there's some question as to even whether Ox can actually turn someone on or not. But anyway, that's that's aside from the point. But the so from that basis, the implication is that it is only possible for alphas to do it. But if people are interested in exploring the idea of whether other wolves can do it, but only alphas are allowed to do it, that's also something I'm happy to do, or if we want to get rid of that entirely. But that's kind of up to what people are interested in doing. We don't need to be slavishly, following the book. So
maybe that's what we think. Like, we think that only alphas can turn them, so we wouldn't attempt it unless we were alpha. But if it's true, I think we can leave it open until a moment when it would be an interesting thing to happen, to have somebody become a werewolf, even though he wasn't bitten by an alpha or something like that.
Sure thing, yeah. No, that's
Maybe
cool.
that's the NPC that was banished. Like, we don't know if they really did it, but that's what we heard, that they at least tried to create an alpha.
Although I think that would probably be, so that's the kind of what I was mentioning earlier, that if common understanding is that only alphas can make other wolves, then that probably wouldn't be something you'd have as a tradition, because that's right. The traditions are specifically laws that prohibit certain actions, sort of thing. So it's yeah.
Right.
Cool. No worries. But yeah, so I think what we'll do then is I will just check in, and we'll probably just do this very quickly now. We might just spend a few minutes at the beginning of next session. So there are two questions here. Which NPC has been banished from the pack for violating a tradition, and what happened? And which player here has secretly broken a tradition, and what happened as a result? So does anyone have an idea for an NPC who has been banished for violating a tradition?
Yeah, Sabine was suggesting that the banished NPC trusted someone they met in a dream. I kind of like the idea, like the sibling who went away, like maybe after that they kept visiting someone in their dreams, and kept doing what she said, but we don't know if it was really her or things got
maybe
complicated.
It's like an additional NPC though.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, the sister of your Ghosts and Marcus's sister, maybe she was not just going away because of the fight with her father. Maybe she was actually banished for trusting someone she had met in the dream.
That's nice.
Maybe that was the reason why they were fighting.
Ooh, yeah. Just so we don't have to throw another NPC at David.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although I think with this, the idea is that they are currently banished. So if it's if they're so they're acting as an example. So I mean, it could be Camille hasn't come back and is still banished, or if we want to introduce someone else who is banished, that's
so also. You said that your mother was hoping you would take over Ghost.
My mother was trying to, and she did succeed,
as the
manifest the magic. Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering,
but I kind of like that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I want to hear what you have to say.
I was wondering if it was your mother that was banished. Like, I'm wondering, and this just to complicate things, I'm wondering if she claimed that the land appeared to her in a dream and gave her orders.
Perfect. Yes. I really like this. Yeah. And that's like considered like absolutely taboo, right? Like the land would not speak to you through the dream. Yeah.
But of course it created for her a complicated that she either disobeyed the land or trusted someone in the dream.
Yeah, your mind is so good that you instantly created this like hard rock, and I like the hard place on a
Yeah, that's
rock
cool.
kind of situation. Sorry, it's almost 1 a.m. here, so my words
No,
are moving.
no worries. Yeah, cool. That's perfect. I'll check in for a name on her next time. And yeah, which one of you has broken one of the traditions?
I
It
think
is.
that was
Da-da-da.
I think that was me when I told my wife about the whole werewolf thing.
Yeah.
Yep, sure thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think her name was Enid, by the way.
Perfect. Okay, we have just hit the top of the hour now, and I know Gemma's just mentioned it's 1 a.m. there, so I think
No worries.
I think we will leave things there now. But I think we've got a good chunk of stuff built up. I said I'll try and touch base with people through Slack over the week, flesh out any bits that need it, and then the other thing I'll probably like just ask questions about is kind of what we want our like inciting incident to be and all that sort of stuff. But I said I won't keep people any longer now, but thank you very much, everyone. It's been a productive day, I think. So thank you all. I'm going to stop our record.